I think that's ultimately what attachment really boils down to, is like, this is your version of humanness.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't something so broken in you. Like, this is your humanness.
Yep.
And you have the opportunity to move towards the pasture and out of the war zone, the jungle, and the desert.
Yeah.
There's a real place of safety when we choose it. We have been able to choose secure attachment with each other through very intentional and proactive conversation. Welcome to 3%. We're your hosts, Jamie Haig.
And I'm Blake Roberts.
We're two best friends, fathers, husbands, and just two guys trying to figure it out.
We're also therapists, which is probably a pretty important part.
That's true.
And we believe that at our best, people are 97% honest with themselves and others. And it's that hidden 3% of emotions, needs, desires, and behaviors that we keep to ourselves that keep us bound to shame and loneliness, from which many of our issues stem.
Each week on this podcast, we'll interview leaders in the fields of psychology, theology, arts, and athletics to explore holistic masculinity. We're not here to tell you the man you need to be, but we are here to help you explore what gets in the way of being the man you want to be.
We're going to help you develop courage and give you the tools to share your 3% in the relationships that matter most, so you can more deeply connect with yourself, God, and others. So, pull up a chair.
Let's get into it.
So let's be honest. Let's be honest. Let's be honest. Let's be honest.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to this week's episode of the 3% podcast. Jamie, good to see you. We're recording in my new therapy office today for those that are watching.
Welcome.
Welcome to the space.
Vibes on vibes.
We are really glad to be with you guys this week. We've had some bangers of some episodes the last few weeks.
Yeah, we have.
It's been really fun. A lot of new faces, a lot of new people around, a lot of new listeners. And we're really glad you're here. The show is continuing to grow in some pretty exciting ways.
Feels like a wild ride for us.
Yeah. The last couple of weeks have been...
Yeah, we haven't really known what to do with ourselves. So thanks in large part to you guys for listening, and thank you to the amazing guests that we've had on for being kind enough to give an upstart podcast the time of day.
Yeah.
Which is a gift.
Yeah. It's very much a gift, and all the kind messages are just giving us energy to keep going. Mm-hmm. So if you have been around, you'll know that we mostly do guest episodes, and then every now and then we'll do one of these standalone episodes of just Jamie and I, where we go a little bit deeper into a topic. I think our last one was the emotions episode. Is that right?
Emotions for dummies like us.
Yeah, which that one resonated really powerfully with you guys, where we just talked a lot about emotions and what we carry from others that's not ours to carry. And so actually
our last one was our suicide episode.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. Blake's story. So if you haven't heard that one, go listen to that as well. We did that one in September.
I mean, we're already, 30?
Yeah.
30. Over 30 episodes, so I'm losing track.
Yeah, this is somewhere in the 30s.
So we thought we'd take some time today for just Jamie and I to go a little bit deeper into attachment, formerly known attachment theory, now known attachment science.
Oh.
Yeah.
News to me.
In the last few months, it has been, I don't know who did it, but somebody was like, this is now a science. Like, there's enough efficacy, there's enough
evidence,
research and evidence to make it have gone from a theory, just the more we learn about the brain and all this stuff, to a science. So it's a little more formal now, I guess.
Wow. And Blake definitely has a deeper knowledge on this, so he'll be laying out some knowledge for us today. So what I'm hearing from you is that we should be calling you Blake the Scientist.
Blake the Scientist guy. I just heard the Bill Nye the Science guy in my head when you said that. Makes me think of middle school. Yeah, you can call me Blake Dr. Blake the Scientist. I'll take that.
Dr. Blake the Scientist Therapist.
There's attachment science and attachment styles have been really helpful for just me understanding how I relate in relationships, and how it's been really helpful for my clients. Like, when you have something that provides language to something that feels really complex and nuanced, it can be really helpful. Sort of like what the Enneagram does, right? Like it's just a
Right.
tool that provides language to understand where you're at and where you can go. And I think the attachment styles do that. So if you are already well versed in attachment science, still stick around. Maybe you'll learn something new. If you have no idea what we're talking about, still stick around. We'll try to make it not boring.
Yeah, we just talk we talk about it a lot. We use the language a lot of attachment. So we thought it was about time that we kind of gave a better picture of what we're even talking about
Yeah.
when we bring up that language.
Yep. Yeah. So I got my notes. I got my little flow here, so that we stay on track of time and don't get too off, because we're recording with another guest right after this. So we're going to kind of set the stage for you today. And so we want to make this, like Jimmy said, practical. We want to talk a little bit about why this matters for your life, for your relationships, for your faith even. We'll talk about how early relationships wire us, what that means for us today, like how that impacts your life today, and then how you can move toward more security, which we'll talk about in a second. Anything else?
No, I think that's great. Let's
Okay.
do it.
So, brief overview, and you can just chime in whenever you want here, because we think very similarly in terms of how we work with clients. Attachment is, in the most simple terms, it describes how we are, or it looks at how we are shaped and how our nervous systems are shaped by our early relationships, and how we learn to trust or not trust. There's a lot of science behind this. I don't have all of the details in front of me, but in our early years, we kind of have this foundation laid in our brains and our nervous systems about how to move through the world. And a large portion of that, if not almost all of it, is influenced by our primary caregivers, because they act as the stand-ins for our prefrontal cortex, for like certain parts of our brains that are not developed yet. The adults in our life that have developed brains help us, or at least that is their role, is that they should help us learn how to navigate life, navigate relationships, navigate the emotional landscape within ourselves. I mean, this is like playing out so much in real time for me right now, like with a 2.5-year-old whose emotions are on full go, but the reasoning, the logic making, the part of her brain that helps her know what to do with those emotions is not developed yet. So it's just like all
Right.
emotions, roller coaster all the time. And it's like every moment we kind of have this chance as parents to help her develop a secure attachment to us, or we don't. Right.
Yeah.
And for a lot of our listeners, a lot of us didn't have that secure attachment with our primary caregivers. And so I'll go over those real quick, and we'll come back to them in a little bit more detail. But it's kind of broken down into 4 primary styles, one being the most ideal. And whenever I talk about attachment style, I like to start off by saying secure attachment, which is the ideal attachment, is not something that you arrive to.
Oh, interesting. What do you mean by that?
Like, you don't get to a place in a relationship, I don't think, where you are securely attached all the time. Like, the goal is that we're always moving toward secure attachment, just like I mentioned the Enneagram earlier. I don't always embody the healthy characteristics of an Enneagram 9. Like, I'm always going in and out of that, but the goal is that I'm like moving toward that and kind of noticing when I get away from that. So if I'm anxiously attached, which again we'll go over in a second, even in my secure relationships today, I'm still going to show up anxiously attached to that person. And so it's
Okay.
not like I need to learn how I I need to learn my attachment style, and I need to learn what I need to do to move from that to secure attached, so then I can like arrive there and stay there. Because I think at least that whatever our dominant attachment style is was something that kept us safe. Like it actually helped us survive through life.
Right.
And so of course we're going to like find ourselves back there when we're in relationships where we need to keep ourselves safe, whether that's like from real threat or even perceived threat. Does that make sense?
And so kind of what you're saying is what we've talked about before, that self-awareness on its own doesn't necessarily lead to healthy relationship, but it also requires then self-regulation.
Right.
So both of us have avoidant attachment styles, some for like different reason. And yet at times, if we use that knowledge as awareness and can move to regulation, we can operate in a more secure attached space.
Yep.
Noise.
Yep. Kurt Thompson is a neuroscientist, interpersonal relational neurobiology, I think is his
Holy cow.
thing that he studies, which is essentially just what happens in the brain in the context of relationships. We haven't had him on the show yet. But
Yeah, he's awesome. Hey, Kurt, come on our show, please.
He's for sure listening to us right now.
Yeah, big time.
But maybe somebody is who's connected.
Yeah, if you
to him.
know Kurt, we'd like to be friends.
He has this line that I think sums up attachment, which is we come into the world looking for someone and someone looking for us. So when you are born, like when you come out of your mother's womb, you're looking for her and she's looking for you.
You're looking for the nurture and care that she can provide.
Yep.
And she's looking for the joy and fulfillment that she gets in loving you.
I think it was him or somebody else, I wrote this down, said that there's 3 core questions that we ask when we come into the world. And even like as we're growing up developmentally, which is, are my people available? Will my distress be alleviated? And what is my agency for? The first 2, I think, is really important. Are my people available, and will my distress be alleviated? And we'll see in a second how that ties into kind of what forms our dominant attachment style. If an answer to one of those questions is no, that's going to create some issues. Or if the answer is like, sometimes yes, sometimes no, I have no idea.
Right.
And again, like the goal as a parent, anybody listening is not, you are not always alleviating Leo's distress, and you are not always available for him.
No.
But in moments where like you're not, because your own stuff is getting in the way, if you're doing that work of being aware of where your own stuff gets in the way, then you can come back later and help him see that you were not available for him and how that's on you and not on him, which fosters that secure attachment.
Wait, this is weird. Was this a recent text conversation that we had? Weird. It's like recently you were just encouraging me to repair with my son after I was frustrated with how I ruptured with him. That's weird.
Yeah, so interesting. Okay, so we've alluded to some of them. The 4 styles, secure attachment being the ideal one, anxious attached, avoidant, and ambivalent, or like anxiously preoccupied. You could look all this stuff up. There's different lingo around it, but those are the 3 main ones that are not the ideal: anxious, avoidant, and ambivalent. And I actually there is a husband and wife duo named Jeff and Sid Holsclaw. That's how you say their last name. They have a business called Embodied Faith, and they talk about, what is their tagline? It's something like attachment it's like attachment neuroscience informed spirituality or something like that.
Cool.
So they even have a lot of resources where they talk about how these attachment styles show up in our relationship to God, not just with each other.
Yeah.
But you can look up like on Google the definition of all these different styles, but I'm going to actually read the way that they talk about it because it has provided an imagery for me that has like helped a lot more than just like the clinical definitions of these different styles. Okay. So let's start with disorganized or ambivalent. So the way they call this attachment style is the war zone. So if you imagine a war zone, there's chaos, there's fight or flight, there's freeze, there's no like consistent strategy. You're just surviving.
Yeah.
There's so much more I could say there, but another way I like to think about ambivalent or disorganized is a lot of people, if you've been harmed, like abused even by a primary caregiver or by like a really important family member or somebody that has some sort of spiritual authority over you, if you've been abused by that person who was supposed to care for you in a way that other people don't, most likely you're going to have a disorganized attachment style because your idea of like safety is also really confused with harm.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely.
So it's like I want to get close to you, but and this is how it show up in relationship today is like I want closeness, and so I get close to you, but then my nervous system also remembers closeness. It associates closeness with harm, and so I get close, but then I like pull away.
Yeah. Or we don't. I would say in some ways I qualify as a disorganized.
Same.
And we've talked about this on the podcast before, but I'll have a lot of rage show up when I give people in my life opportunity to care about me, and then they don't care about me the way I perfectly want them to care about me. And so then my rage shows up because of my disorganized attachment that I have been spending most of my time carefully curating what safety is for me. And I keep the people closest to me on the fringes of that, even like you, my best friend, my wife. And I don't allow anyone into the spaces where it's like asking for help or true care because I don't trust somebody to actually show up and care for what I need. And so I create these scenarios where people feel like they're caring for me, but I've kind of been anxiously hypervigilant about making sure I'm taken care of. And I think that's where people need to be aware that this is sneaky. It doesn't just look like somebody who's out here like kind of an emotional wreck. It might look hyper put together or anxious.
Yeah.
Because I'm so hypervigilant about creating the scenarios of my safety, but all of that comes from the way that I operated when I was being abused, of making sure that I maintained my little safe world in the midst of something that felt very unsafe. And I didn't understand that until actually pretty recently.
Yeah. Yeah, that didn't show up in our friendship at all either, just a few days ago.
Yeah. This week.
Yeah, we can come back to that if we need to use it as an example.
Yeah. I'm totally open to using it as an example.
Let's go ahead and do it because I think it makes this like theoretical thing we're talking about
Practical.
pretty practical, and it literally just happened.
Yeah.
And our show's about vulnerability, so why not?
Totally. So, my birthday was we're recording this the beginning of October. My birthday is the end of September. And Blake got me a gift for my birthday that I got earlier this week. And I opened it and I didn't know how to respond to him because I knew he was hoping that I would love it because he put a lot of intention and care into what he bought. But because of one of the ways to describe disorganized attachment is like a desperation for intimacy, but a fear that it's not safe.
Yep. Perfectly summed up.
And I have that where It's like I desperately want somebody to, but the way it shows up is not a desire. I don't notice that it's a desire for intimacy coloring what I feel. It's like I have a desire for someone to show up perfectly for me because then I'll know that they care. And so I open this gift. It is very intentional, very thoughtful. But the way I perceived it was Blake doesn't care because he didn't hear me perfectly about what I like. It's a flag from a company that makes like performance. What am I trying to say?
Yeah, it's like performance.
Like I'm building out my home gym. So
Yeah.
like it's like a supplement company that we've talked about before. And in talking about it, I never described like clearly how I feel about the company. And
Or I didn't hear you, which is also possible.
yeah, I think it's a yes and.
Yeah.
And I also think like sometimes in order to feel safe, I'll take hotter takes on things. I'll like choose how I'm going to feel about something so I can maintain the safety around it. Of like, I don't have to integrate the yes and of something.
Yep.
And so Blake got me a flag from this company that has their slogan on it that like I had feelings about. And which was super thoughtful because he knew I was creating a home gym and believed that I really liked this company and even ran it by my wife of like, which one of these things from this company do you think Jamie would like the most? And the way I received it was he didn't hear me. He must not care about me. I'm not safe.
But he didn't tell me that.
No.
So he opened it, and then, or I knew that it got to his house that day, didn't hear for a little bit, and then I was like, I sent him a text. I was like, hey, did you get that? I just want to make sure you got it because it says it was delivered. And then he said, yes, got it. Thanks! Exclamation point. I'm going to hang it up in the gym with the bicep flex emoji.
Yeah.
And Jamie and I have known each other for a long time. So I know how Jamie feels when he gets like psyched about something. And it was not the response I thought I was going to get. And so actually, I'll skip ahead a little bit to anxious attachment style. They call it the jungle. There's a lot of hypervigilance, overfunctioning. So if you think about like if you're in a jungle, you have to be like hypervigilant on edge because you don't know what's going to come out of the jungle.
Yeah.
Sometimes it might be peaceful and they're like, you might be in like the rainforest part of the jungle and it's nice. But then there may be a poisonous yellow frog and you have to like be alert for that. And if not.
But different than a war zone in that in a war zone, you know there's danger.
Yes.
In the jungle, you are worried there is.
Yes. Very well put. And so in like relationships, it's like, am I too much? Am I not enough? I have this anxious energy that I'm from this place of anxious energy. I'm trying to maintain the connection. And this is a good example of how you can like go in and out of these different styles, because when I got that text from Jamie, there was a little bit of anxious attached strategy in me reaching out to him when I knew that it got delivered and I didn't hear in a couple hours. That's another sign. Like if somebody texts you and they don't, or if you text somebody and they don't respond right away and you send like a follow-up text, or you start getting really nervous about it and you start making up all these stories about how they don't like you, you might be anxiously attached. So I sent the text, he sent that one, and then I was like, in my head, I was like, he doesn't like it, or something's going on. And still not honest yet. I'm not honest about how I'm feeling about it, or like the stories I'm making up. I think maybe the next morning I sent another text and was like, hey man, like if you don't like the flag, don't worry about it. We could totally return it. Give you a credit, like, which on the surface, this kind of behavior is like, you wouldn't really think twice about it. But then that eventually led into the conversation that we had a couple days ago, which ended up being like this much broader conversation that wasn't really about the flag at all.
Because that's what, getting back to like the disorganized thing, I couldn't recognize that my real desire in that gift was to be like cared for and connected with you in ways that I was noticing, or maybe noticing and not articulating, that I didn't feel.
Mm-hmm.
So like I wanted to be
Like in general.
yeah. Like, which happens in any relationship. You ebb and flow in your, because of what's going on in your world's intentionality and availability. And I had been feeling less cared for. And so I put all this expectation on this gift to make me feel cared for. And then
Yeah.
when it was,
Because when I got the flag from the company that you didn't really love, then it just added to that, oh, I really am not cared for
right,
narrative.
right. But all of that's attachment and not truth. But attachment style becomes the way that we perceive the world. And like you're saying, our conversation was our choice to move to secure attachment.
Yes.
Which is what we had built with each other over time.
Yep. Which you're going to love the landscape imagery they use for secure attachment. Avoidant. This is the last one I haven't covered yet. They call the avoidant attachment style the desert.
Oh.
So self-sufficiency, if you think about being in a desert, you're on your own, right? Isn't that imagery beautiful?
Yeah.
Like you have to survive on your own. It's all up to you. You can't really rely on anybody else. It's like if you're in the desert alone.
If you can't tell in what story I just laid out, it could easily just be an avoidant attachment style showing up too. Like I think it's well.
Yeah.
I'm typically more inclined to fall into my avoidant style.
Yeah, same. It's easier. I'd say dominantly I have more of the avoidant as well. It shows up in our friendship. It shows up in my job. It shows up in my marriage and my parenting. It wanted to show up in that conversation when you called me and you're like, hey, this is actually what's going on, because my anger that first came up, instead of like hearing, because you weren't attacking me about like getting the wrong gift, and you weren't even not grateful for it. Like you were. But and this is another thing we talked about, my struggle to acknowledge that I can intentionally do something thoughtful and caring for someone else and it can still hurt. That's hard to sit with.
It's so hard.
And so when that was the reality of this situation, I could feel the avoidant parts of me wanting to be like, fine, I'll just do it on my own. Like, this is too complicated. I'm fine on my own.
Mm-hmm.
I don't, and not like our friendship's going to end, but like, we don't need to really talk about this. That's
right.
For me, what avoidance shows up a lot. It can show up in the relationship where I just kind of withdraw and don't say things that I really need to say or want to say. But we did do that this time, and we had a long conversation about it and experienced more of the moved toward the secure attachment, which they describe as the pasture. Safe, steady. There's belonging there. They even use, we'll put their website in our show notes because they have a lot of resources about each of these landscapes, the jungle, the desert, the war zone, and the pasture, and like kind of even some strategies to move out of them toward the pasture. It's so helpful.
Love it.
Yeah, so helpful.
This is even where like Elizabeth was the one who was like, hey, it's like the Better Blake said on your show. She was like,
Blake Blankenbeckler.
Every
time you say that, I'm thinking of like a better version of me.
I
like
know.
One episode there was
we
got to
change the name because it's just hurtful, but it's also funny.
Blake Blankenbeckler is a friendship expert that we had on.
Yeah, if you want to go check it out, her episode came out in August, and she described issues in friendships being like my humanness bumped up against your humanness. And I think that's ultimately what attachment really boils down to is like, this is your version of humanness. This isn't something so broken in you. Like, this is your humanness.
Yep.
And you have the opportunity to move towards the pasture and out of the war zone, the jungle, and the desert.
Yeah.
Like, there's a real place of safety. Like Blake and I are talking about right now, both of us have traumatic histories that have colored our attachment styles. And yet we have been able to choose, when we choose it, we have been able to choose secure attachment with each other through very intentional and proactive conversations.
Yeah. Yeah. So again, attachment styles are not permanent labels. Like, you don't get to go, oh, I'm an avoidant attached person, so that's why I'm gonna, and it's because of my trauma, so I'm not gonna have this hard conversation. Like, that's not.
Dude, somebody did that to one of my clients this week.
Yeah, that's not the goal here. They're not a permanent label. It's more of an adaptive strategy. It's something that we've learned subconsciously to do to keep us, I'm using air quotes, safe, because it's really perceived safety in the context of relationships. But now it actually keeps us distant in relationships.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, like Jamie said earlier, awareness is helpful. Having language is helpful. And so that's part of kind of what we're doing in this episode, is just providing some language around this in ways that you can see it in yourself, and moving toward someone. Taking that action can be the thing that moves you toward secure attachment. And I think we could just use our, like, in real time, we didn't write this down. The reason, I'll speak for myself and then you can go, that we moved towards secure attachment in that conversation is like, it's a relationship. So maybe if somebody's going, okay, how can I move toward secure attachment with somebody? Well, this is a relationship that we both care about and want to continue to, like, deepen and be honest in. We have this knowing, I would say, that the other person cares about the relationship and wants it to be deeper and more honest. So when that person is expressing hurt or anger or loneliness or something, it's from this deep place of wanting that to lead toward connection. So, like, when you know that, it doesn't mean it doesn't sting if it's like not something good and juicy, but it at least, like, you have that kind of knowing in your body, and just choosing to lean into that hard conversation and let it be messy. And I think especially for a lot of our dude listeners who think that their feelings are, like, too big of a deal. This is
What do you mean by too big of a deal?
like, I'll hear clients all the time say, like, I'm making this too big of a deal. Like, my feelings around the situation don't match. It's like, I'm being dramatic. I'm being too much.
Yeah.
This is I think a situation where you could take, I'm not saying I agree with that, but you could take that and apply it to this. Like, it's just a flag. It's just a birthday gift. Like, it's not that big of a deal. You could have just been like, thanks, I love it. And I could have just let it go, or whatever. Like, it could have just, maybe in a lot of relationships, it would just be that. But we both carry this belief that if we have feelings around something, even if it doesn't match the situation, that is always an invitation to deeper connection with ourselves and with each other even, which is what this whole thing ended up being.
Right.
And so in some ways it's like, yeah, I'm kind of glad that I got the flag from the place that you didn't fully love, because it led to this conversation, which was really important.
Yeah. Important, uncomfortable.
Very uncomfortable.
So even to normalize that, like, this is not something...
Even for us.
Yeah. This is not something that we have arrived to that feels like great to have conflict. But I think you'll find it, the resilience you build over time is like, we talk about how it shows up in the smaller places now and not just the big ones. We started with just the big ones.
Mm-hmm.
And then those gave us the safety to go into the smaller ones. And I think that's where I would encourage everybody listening is like, in your safe relationships or the ones you want deeper, your marriage, your close friends, like the language that we've used before is from a guy named Dr. John Cox. I think that's his name.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, where you notice that something is like 2 + 2 and that should equal 4 relationally, but somehow it's equaling 10, like your reaction is a 10.
Yeah.
It's an invitation, like Blake said, to be curious about where the other 6 came from, not to feel ashamed that somehow you're at a 10.
Yep.
Because that other 6 may inform how your relationship with that person goes from something that can only handle a 4 to something that can handle a 10.
Mm-hmm. That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm glad we can do that.
Yeah. Same.
Yeah.
So, listeners, this week, pay attention to your relationships. Like, where do you notice that you long for more security? In your marriage, in your friendship, and your relationship with your work. Like, again, this is just language that can help inform your relational context in a lot of different ways. We'll put the links in the show notes that we mentioned. Thanks Embodied Faith for
Supplying
sponsoring
the language.
And they don't even know that we're doing this.
I was also going to say, because I said that our traumatic histories have colored our attachment styles, I want to make something really clear that I think Dan Allender gave good language to, which is that what's the most subtle in your life is also your attachment style. Like he called it what's the most subtle, I think he's said is the most satanic.
Yeah.
And I think like not all of my attachment style was informed by my abusive situation.
Mm-hmm. Right.
My attachment style was first formed by my family, and there are things that were helpful and unhelpful there that even led to the attachment I had to the guy who abused me.
Yep.
And so it's important to be like, if you're listening to this and you're like, I don't have big T trauma, I would encourage you to have grace for yourself, because that doesn't mean that you don't have an attachment style.
Yeah. Yeah. If you had a person or persons who raised you, you have an attachment style.
Because you were raised by humans.
Unless you were not raised by humans, unless there is a Tarzan listening, which actually, if you even watch Tarzan, there's some attachment styles going on in that movie.
That's true. So if you were raised by not humans and you're not Tarzan, let us know. We want to hear from you.
Yeah, we would love to hang out and grab coffee, or
we'll add another attachment to the list or whatever. Wow, this is going off the rails.
Yeah, it is. Okay, thank you guys for hanging out with us this week.
Yeah, we're glad you're here. Keep coming back.
We've got. Oh, I was gonna.
Well, my bad.
You just jumped the gun.
Off the rails.
You are very off the rails. That's what happens when it's just us.
Yeah, that's true.
I was just gonna say we've got a lot of exciting guests coming up.
We do. Yeah.
And I'm not gonna tease you with who it is. I'm just gonna tease you with that. We've got some bangers of some guests coming up.
Yeah, and we do end every episode with what I was just saying, but
yes,
I think what I want to be very clear about is like we've been feeling it all year, how thankful we are for all of you. The last 2 weeks we've been just floored.
Yeah.
So we're really glad you're all here. Please keep coming back. You are all worth it.
Hey, thanks for tuning in to another episode. Listen, we're working on some really practical resources to help you connect more deeply with yourself and others. So if you head over to our website, 3percentco.com, you can learn more about that. The link will be in the show notes. And this is the part of the show where we ask you for some help. Listen, we don't have a big fancy production team. We're recording these in my therapy office in between sessions and in the margins of our life. We just really believe in the message that much. I listen to a lot of podcasts, and rarely would I take the time to review and rate a show, just because honestly, I forgot. It wasn't until we started doing this show that I realized doing that actually really does help these platforms notice our show and get the word out. And so if any of this is impactful to you, we would love it if you took a second to leave us a review, rate us, or if you want to just do it the old-fashioned way, text this link to a friend and say, hey, let's talk about this episode. Whatever you do, make sure to follow us on whatever platform you're listening to so you never miss an episode. We're really grateful you're here, and we'll see you next week.
So let's be honest.